Hi folks, Dr. Robert Barrington here with some more nutrition advice. Now this video today is going to be about fluoride, and in particular fluoride in toothpaste. Now this is something I've covered before, but I'd like to go into a little bit more detail, and I'd like to bring this topic up again just because I think it's quite important. I have talked quite a lot about fluoride, and those people that have been following my videos will know that fluoride is a toxin, it's a poison. There is some ambiguity as to whether fluoride is actually an essential trace mineral, or we'd call it an ultra trace mineral because it may be required in such small amounts that the amounts we need are always in our food. Really, the chance of getting a fluoride deficiency is very low. But so that fluoride nutrition is contentious because some people claim it could be an essential trace mineral, whereas other people claim that it's a poison. And obviously the poison is always in the dose. If fluoride is needed for normal human physiology, and there is a small possibility and a small amount of evidence that it may be, it will be needed in such small amounts that it would be present normally in the diet, because fluoride is ubiquitous in foods. It's present in nearly everything that we eat, and therefore the chance of getting a fluoride deficiency is very low. So really this video is about why do we add fluoride to drinking water in large amounts, and why do we add fluoride to toothpaste? Well, the argument goes that fluoride is required in toothpaste and in drinking water because it's useful in order to be able to reduce dental caries. Now, dental caries in Western society is problematic. A lot of people do have problems with their teeth, and the contention for adding fluoride to toothpaste and to drinking water is that this would reduce dental caries. Now, the first thing to say is that fluoride does appear to be beneficial when it's taken as a toothpaste in terms of its effect on dental caries. Now, I don't really want to get into the poisonous side of fluoride. Fluoride is a toxin, it is a poison. It will, if you swallow it, it will cause you harm, and you don't need to take much of it before it has damaging physiological effects. But really I want to concentrate on whether it's effective as its use in a toothpaste. And this is relevant to drinking water as well, because drinking water is fluoridated for the same reason. So we take somebody taking drinking fluoridated water, and somebody consuming brushing their teeth with fluoride containing toothpaste. What they're effectively doing is they're putting fluoride in their mouth. Now, the mainstream version of how fluoride works is that fluoride is required for the mineralization of tooth enamel. Tooth enamel is the hard part on the outer part of the tooth that provides its protection for the softer inner parts. And the argument goes from mainstream dentistry is that fluoride is required for tooth mineralization. It makes the teeth harder, and therefore they are resistant to dental caries. Now, the problem with this that I pointed out before is that that's all very well for toothpaste, because the fluoride is obviously in contact with the teeth, but when we drink water, it obviously goes into our bodies. So there is a disparity between the two methods. Clearly, having fluoride in your mouth is not the same as having it circulating in your blood. So we really need to understand why that would be an important point to make. Well, there's two lines of argument here. Firstly, is the fluoride effective because it's in the oral cavity, or is the fluoride effective because it's in our blood? This is where the mainstream explanation gets a little bit detached from the physiological evidence, because there's no real mechanism that's been described to explain how the fluoride would get into the teeth and into the matrix of the teeth and into the enamel if it was present in the oral cavity for a short amount of time. So if you brush your teeth with fluoride, the fluoride goes into your mouth, you rinse your mouth, the fluoride is removed. Is that long enough for the fluoride to actually create compounds within the enamel that would strengthen the enamel? So fluoroacetate, for example, is one of the compounds that they suggest that fluoride is required to produce. Now, fluoride is incorporated into fluoroacetate in teeth. Whether that actually is the reason that teeth become strengthened is again controversial, because there is some evidence that if you put fluoride into tooth enamel, it actually weakens the enamel compared to other minerals. So this explanation is strange, because obviously when we drink water, we don't really have the water in contact with our teeth for long. It goes into our bodies and it goes into our blood. So the argument could be there that the fluoride is passed into the tooth enamel through normal circulatory mineral deposition. So we have blood vessels at the bottom of our teeth. The minerals could pass into the fluoride could pass into the tooth and therefore strengthen the enamel. However, if you look at the two different delivery mechanisms, fluoride in toothpaste and fluoride in drinking water, clearly they're not the same. So if the explanation it is that the fluoride needs to be in contact with the teeth, then clearly the drinking water doesn't really need to be fluoridated. If the explanation that the fluoride needs to get into the body is correct, then fluoride in toothpaste is not, it does not, really serve any purpose. If we look at the evidence of actually studies that have looked at fluoridated toothpaste, what we tend to find is there is more evidence that fluoride in toothpaste is beneficial compared to fluoride in drinking water. The studies that have looked at fluoride in drinking water, some show a benefit, some don't, but the problem is that you're effectively creating a benefit with also a detrimental effect, because the fluoride in the drinking water also has detrimental effects. So if you take the balance of effects from fluoridating drinking water, you find that there is no real gain. Any benefit that you would see from the reduction in dental caries would be counteracted by the fact that the fluoride is causing poisonous effects and acting as a toxin in other areas of the body. So the overall effect is either neutral or negative. If you look at fluoride in toothpaste, that's a different story, because fluoride in toothpaste does appear to have a beneficial effect, which is why fluoride is put so widely in toothpaste. And mainstream dentists would tell you that that is the proof that fluoride is beneficial to the teeth, and we should all take fluoridated toothpaste. However, when you start to look at the mechanisms of how this works, you actually start to see the curtain drawn back, and you actually start to see the trick that has been played upon us. And I believe it is a trick. I believe there is an unwritten, an underlying knowledge that this is actually how fluoride works. Now, fluoride, when it's taken, it will reduce dental caries, and if you put carbohydrates in the mouth, what you tend to find is that increases dental caries. The reason for this is because the bacteria that we have in our mouth, and we have bacteria all over our skin, we have them in our mouth, in our eyes, we have billions of bacteria in our gut. They're literally growing all over us, and we have huge amounts of bacteria and different varieties of bacteria in our mouth, and they like to live between the gaps in our teeth and on our tongue and in our gums. And these bacteria can ferment carbohydrates, and when they ferment carbohydrates, they produce acid, and it's this acid that actually demineralizes the enamel on our teeth. And this is not, this is not hidden knowledge. Everybody knows that if you eat lots of sugar, you damage your teeth, and the reason that you damage your teeth is because the bacteria convert the sugar into acid, and that acid gradually demineralizes. It causes a dissolution of the minerals in the enamel of the tooth, and over time this causes microscopic holes which enlarge, and this causes dental caries. Now, If you don't, one of the solutions therefore is not to eat sugar. Those people that don't eat very much sugar tend to have better teeth. But all carbohydrates can be used as a fermentation substrate, and generally sugars are the worst, but you know, starch will have the same effect as well. So you could cut carbohydrate out of your diet and your teeth would improve. When you take fluoride and you combine it with a carbohydrate in the diet, the fluoride has a positive effect. It stops the demineralization of the teeth. And the explanation for this is that it is having a mineralizing effect on the tooth. But that is not true. If you look at the data, how fluoride actually works is it's actually preventing the demineralization, which is then allowing remineralization of the tooth. But there is no cause and effect. There is no proof that it's the fluoride that is actually causing the remineralization. The mainstream dental explanation would be the fluoride is actually getting into the tooth and causing it to be mineralized and become harder. But that's absurd. There's no evidence that the fluoride can pass into the enamel when it's in the mouth. What's actually happening, and this is the trick, is that fluoride is a poison. I've explained it's a poison. If we take too much of it, we poison ourselves. It's damaging to cells. Cells cannot cope with high levels of fluoride. Fluoride interferes with cellular machinery. It breaks down the function of the cells and it stops them working. And obviously bacteria are cells. So fluoride has this effect on bacteria. So what is actually happening when you take fluoride in a toothpaste is that you're putting a poison in your mouth that is killing the bacteria. Now, if you kill the bacteria that are present in your mouth, clearly they can't produce acid. If the acid, the acidic content of your mouth drops such that the pH rises, clearly dental caries will reduce because there's less acid being the enamel in your teeth is being exposed to less acid. So it's this antimicrobial effect that is actually allowing the tooth to remineralize. And there have been studies that looked at teeth that have damage to them, and it's known that teeth will remineralize naturally if they're given the opportunity. If you take away the cause of the dental caries and you allow teeth to remineralize, they will remineralize over time as long as they're given the environment in which to be able to do that. And that's exactly what fluoride, I believe, is doing. It's acting as an antimicrobial agent. We know fluoride is an antimicrobial agent. It's actually used in biology as an antimicrobial agent. You can put it on bacteria and it will kill them. So when you take it in your mouth in parts per million in a toothpaste, you're taking an antimicrobial agent that's killing the bacteria, and therefore less acid is produced, and therefore the enamel on the teeth is exposed to less acid, therefore it has more chance to remineralize and you actually improve the health of your teeth. Now that's actually very likely from the evidence the way that fluoride is working, and that's why studies show that fluoride in toothpaste is beneficial. But there's never been a real explanation of how they believe, mainstream dentistry believes that the fluoride can get into the tooth to be able to create this fluoroapatite layer that is able to protect the tooth. That appears to be fantasy, and that's a certain amount of guesswork. And clearly, if that is the mechanism that fluoride is working, there is no point of taking fluoride in drinking water, because the fluoride needs to be in the mouth as an antimicrobial, and the only way that drinking water would be able to act in that way is if you gargled with it and you swilled it round in your mouth and you kept the water in your mouth for a particular length of time. But that's not how people drink water. So this is really where this video is going, and what I wanted to do at the end, which I'll do now, is explain why other toothpastes that are fluoride free are really just as beneficial as toothpaste that contains fluoride. There are many compounds in plants that have antimicrobial effects. Thymol is one. Thymol is an essential oil that's found in many plants. It's in things such as mint. You can find it in rosemary. It's in many different plants, and it has antimicrobial activity, and that's one of the phytochemicals in plants that's well known to have this antimicrobial agent activity. But there are many, and the list of them is in the thousands, and many of these are added to fluoride-free toothpaste. So euthymal is a fluoride-free toothpaste which contains thymol, for example. It contains other phytochemicals as well, and these have antimicrobial effects in the oral cavity, in the mouth, and they work in exactly the same way as fluoride. Now, the advantage of using phytochemicals such as thymol over fluoride is that firstly, you don't have the risk of poisoning, because if you can swallow the toothpaste, and most of the phytochemicals in that toothpaste are relatively benign. In fact, they are in so many foods that we absorb them all the time anyway. And the other advantage is the environmental advantage, that you don't have to be messing about with fluoride, putting it into toothpaste, and all the industrial side effects and waste that accompany the use of fluoride on an industrial scale. So really, looking at toothpaste and comparing fluoride-free toothpaste with toothpaste with fluoride in it, they work in exactly the same way. My opinion is that if you take a fluoride toothpaste, what you're effectively doing is killing the bacteria in your mouth. If you take a fluoride-free toothpaste, you're doing exactly the same thing. It's just that the chemicals are safer, and they're derived usually from plants. Mouthwash does exactly the same thing, because it contains alcohol, and alcohol kills cells, and cells are bacteria are cells. So taking a mouthwash is exactly the same process. It's a killing bacteria process. So it's been hidden in plain sight, but the way that the teeth are maintained in their healthy state is really by maintaining a good balance of bacteria in your mouth. Now, there are good bacteria that you can have in your oral cavity. There are good and bad bacteria that you can have throughout your gut, but it's the certain types of bacteria that start to ferment sugars and produce this acid that are actually the detrimental the detrimental contributors to dental caries. And really, that's all fluoridated toothpaste is trying to do. I don't believe the explanation about the mineralization and the incorporation of fluoride into the enamel is actually the reason that fluoride toothpastes are beneficial. It certainly doesn't fit with the reason that fluoride is added to water. And some evidence shows that when you do add fluoride to teeth, and we know this because fluoride poisoning causes a weakening of the teeth, and it causes a mottling of the teeth. Too much fluoride in the enamel of the teeth actually causes discoloration, which is medically known and medically reported. So there is contention that actually having fluoride in the enamel of the tooth is beneficial at all. So my advice, if you want good healthy teeth, is to avoid sugar and don't eat too many refined carbohydrates. Make sure you agitate the surface of your teeth regularly with some kind of toothbrush in order to be able to remove pieces of food that would be stuck between your teeth, because they are obviously going to be a source of food for the bacteria. And then my advice would be to get yourself a good fluoride-free toothpaste, and the reason for that is that the antimicrobial compounds in that toothpaste will have the same effect of fluoride, but you obviously don't get the detrimental effects of the possibility of being poisoned by the fluoride that is in the toothpaste. So I hope you found that interesting. As always, eat well, stay healthy, and protect yourself, and I will see you soon for another video. Take care.